Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live and continuing our conversation now with Judge Johann Kriegler and Prince Mashele about yesterday's Constitutional Court judgment and its effects on the NPA and how to move forward from here on in. And just before the break, Prince was talking about that process of actually appointing the National Director of Public Prosecutions and giving us his view on that matter and talking about perhaps a more public process in terms of appointing the NDPP as opposed to having that particular decision vested in one person who is the president. Let me get Judge Kriegler's response to that. What's your view on that?
I go along with Prince, but only halfway. I don't believe that a more transparent process in itself is sufficient. I think that we have examples of transparent selection processes in this country, even with days of interviews in Parliament, ending up with people who proved to be a disappointment. I think we need vigilance by everybody concerned, both in the pre-selection, in the selection, and thereafter in the public scrutiny of its senior officials. Institutions are essential, but they're not sufficient. Strong institutions instead of strong men, yes, but strong civil society, strong media, strong awareness of the people and an interest in what is being done in their name. In the case of the NDPP, I do believe that the legal profession should possibly be the source of the next appointee. I think, however, that it should at least be consulted in the identification of future candidates for that post.
Look, I think civil society, I'm from civil society, so I'll be the last to disagree with the judge on the importance of civil society. We are here because of civil society. There's no question about it. But you know what? When you have a crazy president like Jacob Zuma, he doesn't care about civil society. What does he do? He gives you a Shaun Abrahams. You make a lot of noise, but there's absolutely nothing that your noise will do. I trust institutions precisely because of the judgment yesterday. Who saved South Africa yesterday? It is an institution. It is not an individual. So I would err on the side of institutions than erring on the side of a personality. Remember, Karl Popper said, plan as if you are going to have a terrible leadership. So build strong institutions.
What did Shaun Abrahams do?
Shaun Abrahams, state capture. The state has been captured over the past 10 years with Shaun Abrahams sitting there, right? Doing absolutely nothing. He started acting on it when his boss, Jacob Zuma, was out in the cold.
Prince, it was very clear. He didn't do nothing. He prosecuted Gordon.
No, of course, that's what he did. So if you have a compromised NDPP like Shaun Abrahams, they call him Shaun the Sheep, the integrity of the institution is going to suffer, and it has suffered tremendously over the past 10 years. Going forward, we need an institutionalized process that does not depend on one man. Ramaphosa may be fashionable today, but what if he wakes up one day and he decides to go mad? What are we going to do? An institution can't go mad. An individual can go mad.
But is there anything that can protect us against, strong men using state institutions to fight their personal or political battles, Judge Kriegler?
Certainly. But let's not get too ambitious. We're a young democracy. We're feeding our way in many respects. For instance, in the institution of the NDPP, it's a unique appointment. We borrowed from the Brits, we've borrowed from the Americans, but in fact our institution is different. It was an experimental decision. It didn't work all that well, and I think everybody agrees we must relook at the design. But ultimately, the protection of all of us goes back to the old saying that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We're all supposed to be watching. We're supposed to be watching the politicians, and we're supposed to be watching their appointees. Vocal, active, alert public interest in their governance is what democracy is about.
We're out of time. Just a final one. Any ideas of who could possibly be the successor here?
No, there's a principle I would place on the table. It has to be a senior counsel who is outside the NPA, who commands respect both in the NPA and outside the NPA. You need an outsider to shake the tree inside. I wouldn't mention names because we have so many men and women who are qualified to take up the job.
Judge Kriegler?
I disagree. I know the lawyers better than Prince does. No, I would not venture to suggest to the president where he must go. I do believe that there are many competent people in the country. And
sounds like you have an idea.
Of course I have an idea, but I'm not impertinent enough to try to suggest publicly to the president who it should be. But I'm looking at that board.
So the name is on that board?
May just be.
I'd say Vusi Pikoli, perhaps?
No.
If I had the choice, yes, but I haven't. That's the president's prerogative at this stage, and I have every confidence in the advisors that he has and in the process that he is following to choose a successor.
You know, time is that enemy, I promise you. Just when you're having fun, we were just getting there with regard to, finding that name. But we have to leave it, unfortunately. Thanks so much to our guest this morning, Judge Johann Kriegler, the Chairperson of Freedom Under Law, and political analyst Prince Mashele. And no doubt, you will also weigh in on this conversation at Morning Live SABC. Send us your views. But for now, it's time for the latest news, and it's over to Leanne.